Hello guys, welcome back to another video. We are back to working on the Charger and thrashing to make it to Hot Rod Power Tour. So I'm hoping that we can get this thing together just in time to make it. So in the last video we actually got all the suspension put back together, the car back on the ground, and today we're going to get the engine ready and basically have it to where I can use it and finally put it in the car and see if we can make it fire up. So stick around to the end of the video, see if that even happens, and I'll see you then. Looks like this weld here gave way. Like this spot weld didn't penetrate the metal, and I mean I don't know if it would be strong enough of a force to fling it out, but I wonder if it picked up just enough to where it caught the starter snout and pulled it back. I'm gonna try and just bend it back down and make sure and see if I can seat it in this. Because if that's the problem, I mean, I don't see anywhere where it pulled, like it snagged it. I just wonder if it was like that when I put it in and didn't realize it. I don't know. I need to go back and look. There we go. She's ready to disassemble. We're going to get rid of all this serpentine doo-doo and start from scratch and go do the basics and make it actually worthwhile instead of trying to be too cool for my own good. One of the biggest changes we're going to accomplish here is the camshaft. Now what I just took out was a Comp XE274H. Now that's a little bit more radical, so we're going to step it down a notch and go with the XE268H. The difference here is a little less duration at 50, a little bit less lift, but it's more suited for our mild 440. Now this thing doesn't have a lot of compression. The static compression is like, I want to say probably not even 8 to 1. So using that Comp XE274 was a little bit too radical for this build. Now it did sound awesome, it sounded great, but it just didn't have any low end torque, and a lot of that was just, noise. It didn't make any good power. Plus the transmission was its own story, but still, we're going to go with this XE268 because it's much more suitable for this engine. It's much more streetable. It'll still have a little bit of a lope, but I mean, this cam is much better suited for it because I actually have this exact cam not only in my 72 Swinger with a 360, but also the Cordoba in the back with a 400. So at the end of the day, this setup will be very similar to what the Cordoba actually is. And that car is a rocket ship. So we're hoping to kind of mimic that, still have something that's very streetable, it's very mild, but it'll light the tires up and be a fun car. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to throw in the Comp XE268. I'll read you the specs here real quick. On the intake side for lift, it's 477. The exhaust side is 480. And the duration at 50 is 224 on the intake and 230 on the exhaust. So it's not a super radical cam, but it's a good cam. It's probably about top of the line for a low compression engine, and you can get away with probably a factory stall in this, but I'd probably recommend going up a notch if you can. But this is a much more streetable engine and much more streetable cam with this situation. And I guarantee you, it's probably going to make more power or more seat of the pants feel power down low than that 274, because it's going to move the power band a little bit lower in the RPM range. But when we stay around in that RPM range pretty much most of the time, you stab the throttle and the thing goes, camshaft. It is finally time to install the engine. Now what we're going to do is do a test fit here, because there's a little bit of clearance issues with the steering rack because we're going to rack and pinion, and I want to make sure that the oil pan is going to be okay before I even try to put it in there. So if we just wait, do a little test fit in here, maybe it won't be so bad to take it back out and fix some things. I don't think that's even possible to work. So we had to pull the engine back out because the oil pan was hitting the steering rack. This is a center sump car pan, and normally it would work with a factory cross member, but when we went to the QA1 cross member, we had to push the sump further back. So that's why we're going to do this. This is a truck oil pan. It has the sump in the very rear of the engine. Now, this is just a temporary thing. I would like to get a different oil pan, and I ran out of Chrysler turquoise, so black it is. But we'll set this one on the shelf, pop this one on the car, and hopefully we can bolt it to the transmission and finally get the thing sitting inside. We went ahead and installed the brand new rack, and I had them tied up to the spindles so that way everything is in communicating order and the wheels won't point in any direction they feel like when you roll the car around. Now, we changed our oil pan. We have the truck pan, so we know that that's going to clear. We already went ahead and put the QA1 mounts on here, all polyurethane bushings, very nice. We're going to join this up with our transmission that came out of the car. Now, the biggest issue we had with the car was that the transmission was really loose and slipping a whole lot, causing a lot of heat. I'm hoping that that was the torque converter, because that one was probably a little bit too much for what this combination really needed. With our milder cam, we're going to go with a milder torque converter. This transmission is rebuilt, probably has like 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it. Hard miles, but we're going to try and use it. Now, if something does happen and this thing is bad after the fact, I've got another transmission that's already been rebuilt. I just want to use this one because it's already ready to go. So we're going to join these two together and then drop it in the car. This is a Mopar Performance torque converter. It was supposed to be rated like 26 to 2800. They don't even make these anymore, but I bought it for a really good deal at a swap meet. And from what I can tell, it looks either very low miles or it could be new. So I'm going to pop this in, and I think it's going to be a really nice fit for our new engine and cam. Borgeson steering pump here. And this is gonna go right in that spot and be nice and pretty. Now I bought this brand new and it even comes with a large diameter pulley for a big block. I like that. And instead of having to hunt around and find all the bracketry and bolts and hardware, I bought it all brand new. That means our steering situation besides the column is basically done. And then we'll add our pulleys, add our belts. That's it for the front end. Like, that's easy. Normally doesn't go that easy. Right, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna fast forward and jump to the clip where all the pulleys and belts don't line up, and then I'm just crying on the floor. This is a Tough Stuff alternator. It's a 100 amp. I bought this for my Dart, but it had a single groove pulley and I needed a double for that car, but I never returned it. I just kept it and bought another alternator, and this thing's been on the shelf for forever, and it's gonna look nicely with our Mancini Racing alternator brackets. Last piece of the puzzle is the water pump and crank pulley. Now, I found these in an actual 5-gallon bucket in the barn, and these bolt up and they work. So this one will go to the water pump and tie into our alternator here, and then there's a second groove on the crank pulley that will tie in to our power steering pump. So we're ready. That means that once we bolt everything down and get it kind of snug, we have 2 belts. That's it. That looks really good. Wow, that's way less complicated than what it was before. It's turning out pretty good. I like it. So I bought this Performer RPM intake for the Charger years ago, and unfortunately it got pretty stained while it was sitting there. I never coated it with any kind of clear coat, so I went ahead and just touched it up, a little bit of paint, and then actually cleared it this go around, and that turned out way, way better. So it was just kind of brown and dirty and gross, aluminum oxidation on it. So we got all that fixed up. Most importantly, made in the USA. The original headers on this engine was this right here. These are Doug's headers, they're 2-inch, and they fit technically, but it was kind of rough to get those in, and they wrap around the starter, so it's not very fun. And they're also 2-inch diameter, so they're really not suited for this engine. It's a little bit too big of a diameter. I just bought them because they said they fit the best from all the reviews I read. So we're going to take these off. What we're going to swap them with is this right here. Now these are Headman Headers. They're mid-length headers for a big block. If you remember from the black short wheelbase that we did put a big block in, I actually put these in there and then stole them off that truck and put them back in this car. So to do a little clearance thing to make it fit on the inner fender, but that's really about all I had to do. The reason I'm going with this is that this is an 1 3/4 primary tube, so you know it's going to be better for that low end torque, and they fit much better. There's much more clearance. We've got to build a steering column with a steering rack for a rack and pinion, and that's going to make things a heck of a lot easier. Now, also, when I put the truck oil pan, or actually it's an RV oil pan, I had to shorten the dipstick tube, so I cut it right here, then I shortened the stick itself to match. So we've got a new dipstick tube here to work. So we have the headers, we've got a lot of stuff here going on. Now I'm gonna just do a little test fitting, make sure they work. Oh, that's gonna fit great. That's perfect. There we go. Now, we do need some gaskets. We're that much closer to breaking our cam in. Had to clearance it just a little bit right there, but that seems like it's gonna work okay. Those poly bushings are gonna stay tight, so if the engine rocks over, I don't think we're gonna have any issues. Whew, we're getting there. Slowly but surely we're getting there. What are we at, 3 days away now? that's gonna work much better. After doing that little bit of work, we got some room down there at that steering coupler. Yes, I like Motorcraft FL1A filters. They're large capacity and they used to be super cheap, but they're not anymore, and you can't hardly find them. So, you know, they used to be like $3 or $4 a filter, but now they're like double that. But anyway, very good extra capacity filter. Like syrup. Got a priming tool for the oil pump. This just basically sits in place of where the distributor rolls, and the timing gear. I'm gonna pop that down way down in the bottom here. All right, and what I'm doing here is I'm engaging the oil pump. The reason I'm doing that is because this engine is bone dry. There's no oil in it basically, and you don't want that with a cam brake in, especially any kind of wear items. So we're gonna go ahead and engage the oil pump and make it to where oil is coming up out of these rockers. Now you can hear the difference. There's load on the drill now. That means that pressure is finally starting to build up. All right, so I'm gonna rotate it a little bit. Nothing yet. Ooh, the drill's smoking. I hear air. Calm down, drill. I'll let the drill take a break for a second. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm dumping oil everywhere. Stay. Stay in there, please. All right, so we've got oil over here, and I thought I had a better grip on it, but I guess I didn't. I'm dumping it all over the floor. There it is. All right, we got both sides oiled. So, the reason we did that is because, again, oil will be, there's like no oil at all circulating right in the first couple seconds, and cam brake ends are crucial to get oil. So now that we have it up to the top, we know that all that oil is going to run down and ride right on top of the cam, so we can put our valve covers on and we should be good to go. The oil system's primed. We'll check the level, top it off. That's all you got to do. Well, then you got to break it in, and then you got to cross your fingers and say a prayer that it actually works. Oh man, look at all that extra room now. Isn't that amazing? No more serpentine, no more crazy belt routing. Room now. That's the way I like it. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. We got the car, you know, basically a car again. We just have to button up a lot of the final details and make it happen. So we're running out of time, but we're going to make it as best we can, and hopefully we can get the car ready to go on the road. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. Question for me, leave a comment, order your t-shirts and your stickers. And, you know, if all else fails, you know, we don't make it to Hot Rod Power Tour this year, we are still going regardless. So I make sure that you are there at all the stops. So I want you to know that I will still be there no matter what happens, if the Charger makes it or not. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.